Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Nerd Tube. And it's time to talk about the dark side of the ring. Today we're on season 5, episode 3, Terry Gordy, the final flight of the Freebird. I'm here with my wrestling cohort and future Hall of Famer Gaz. How you doing?
I do real well.
Now, I have to say I was kind of surprised with this one because I thought at one particular point we were going to get more of the Freebirds and Terry Gordy. But no, it did focus on Terry Gordy pretty much, and that was, in my opinion, that was a good thing because it was his show. It was his episode. How did you? Before we start talking about this episode, how did you find it?
Really sad because, here's a guy with natural ability for wrestling who, from what everybody says about him, people loved being around him, said he was a good worker, said he was a really nice guy. And then just one stupid decision he makes takes all that away from him, takes away his personality almost. It's just like,
Yeah,
and it just shows you all it takes is just you making one dumb decision and your life changes forever.
yeah, I agree. It's unfortunately it's kind of a common tell what we get with wrestlers. Them dying young, drugs, pills, partying, alcohol. Um, it wasn't all happening necessarily. Some of the things weren't necessarily happening at the same time, but the one thing kind of led to another, if you know what I mean. So, so in this episode, we start off by meeting Gordy's kids, and hey, get lost you. And
Both of them
first
are
of all,
wrestlers.
Miranda Gordy, I know nothing about, but Ray Gordy, who was one half of Jesse and Festus, aka Biscuits and Gravy. Oh my god, I love that song so much. Um, and also Grandmaster J. Who the fuck was that? Was that a replacement for Grandmaster Sexy or something?
I don't know. I can't remember it. Sorry. As I said, I remember Jesse and Festus. Again, the
Of
fact that
course.
he got lumbered with that stupid gimmick just shows you, how much faith they had in this fella.
That
Um,
is gonna kill you. Hello, how you doing, mate?
I
Nice
shut
to
up.
see you.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that's one thing that I did like is that we got to see his kids and they front loaded this thing and his family did, and then we just went into his background, like how he got started in the business, all that sort of stuff. I can't believe he got started so young.
Oh, it's Soprano. How you doing, mate?
I
Nice to see
soprano.
you. And hopefully you saw the episode as well. Yeah, 40. Yeah, this is a thing that I would say because when he started in this industry, Gordy was 14 years
T.
old,
Yeah.
14, and larger than life as well, which is crazy. He was absolutely a massive man, or a massive kid, but he's just a child. He's 14. You know, he's already really big, but it doesn't take him long until we meet people like he meets people like Michael P.S. Hayes,
Yeah.
um, who really, out of all of the Freebirds, he was the one who probably got it best. It's good to hear to get Soprano.
Yeah, good to hear you,
Um,
soprano. Yeah, so I was just going to
uh,
say, yeah, it's good to hear that I mean, like, Michael Hayes is, backstage at WWE, he's been a producer and agent for years. I mean, probably decades, I remember.
announcer, announcer, all of that sort of stuff. He was there when he was there famously when Stone Cold said, regarding regarding Jake the Snake Roberts, you could take your 316 or whatever, and he was there when he said all of that stuff. That was pretty cool. Anyway, we also meet Jimmy Garvin, who later becomes Terry Gordon's replacement, and as well of Buddy
No, no,
Roberts, who's the
he's
third
only
member.
replacement.
No, 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 no. No. Well, I'm just saying it, in a minor way, but Buddy Roberts also who becomes the third member of the Freebirds, and Terry and Michael, when as they were the main two members of the Freebirds, they were the first people to have music for their entrance. Now this is kind of a unique thing because I never knew that. You
Yeah,
know, that was pretty cool.
yeah, because they were both Lynyrd Skynyrd fans. and they wanted Freebird, which they use, which is I mean, I'm going to start using it because it's getting demonetized, but like it's a very, very famous song, and then like
Yes, it is. Yeah.
yeah, and
Because of course,
and they come out with the flaming Confederate flag on, which a bit
yeah.
these days, but like.
Well, we're talking about those films, TV series like Dukes of Hazzard and stuff that had it on there and stuff, but yeah, it was a bit stupid, obviously back then. Even back then it was stupid. Regardless, but yeah, they became like they were like initially like you look at the Cool Heels, they were like the first, the beginning of the Cool Heels thing. So, and then they had their famous rivalry with the Von Erichs. Yeah,
Well, I
good
mean, the
versus
thing
evil
we should.
rivalry for 2 years.
But I think that the thing that the Freebirds were famous for, if not infamous for, was introducing the famous Freebird policy, which is that any two of them could be tagged on the night or I could interchange.
Yeah,
So, for example, if Terry and Michael were the champions, Jimmy could fill in for Michael, or he could fill in for 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 Terry.
yeah, I get it, we get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get
So
it. But
yeah, it's great. It was great because that sort of thing hadn't been done at that time. It was just so good to have this like heel team that you didn't know which two you were going to face on the night. And yeah, their rivalry with the Von Erichs was legendary.
Other trio tag teams did this as well. Obviously, the Demolition, what they got crushing, and most recently, the New Day. So anyway, Shadow he says, "What he a clean career wise?" I'm afraid I don't know much about Terry Gordy. I watched wrestling in the past, but that was during the Attitude Era. No, he wasn't. Unfortunately, we are going to get to that. Like a lot of wrestlers, he did go down the pills route, but it wasn't to do with performing and enhancing. It was more to do with relaxation and stuff like that. But there was a famous story of Terry Gordy beating up a dude who hit on his wife at a bar. I mean, when I say hit on his wife, I mean like made a pass at her. And Terry Gordy beat the shit out of this guy, so Terry Gordy then got arrested. And then whilst he's in handcuffs, he's like so enraged he battered the police car with his forehead, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah. So being part of the Freebirds meant that they party hard, and the Freebirds got their first meeting with Vince McMahon to be part of the WWE. But they made a terrible first impression. Apparently, they were pissed at their faces. They were falling asleep. It's amazing how Michael Hayes ended up working as a producer for Vince McMahon, considering his impression. But we'll get to that. You let me know in a second. But let me just finish monologuing here. But yeah, the Freebirds, they made a bad first impression still with Vince, and within a week of being in the WWE, they got fired. And you're frozen, by the way, Gary. I'm not sure if you can resolve that. Maybe you can come back in. Who knows? But still, whilst Gary was resolving his technical issues, yeah, we never really got to see the Freebirds within the WWE. They because they never really spent any time there. They hey, Gary's back. They were gone before they had the chance to start because they were such massive party animals. Gary?
Yeah, so their feud with the Von Erichs, which is you've watched the Iron Claw movie, which if you haven't watched, go watch it. Is a big part of it. That basically birthed that territory. That for 2 years was a massive draw. There was I think there's a 6-man tag match. That is how you build a tag division and a 3-man tag division. You have two really over 3-man tag teams that people give a shit about, either individually and together and stuff like that. So that was really good business. And yeah, you're right. I mean, plus Vince McMahon is not the only person that they only worked for like a limited part of time. I think they had like limited stays, or when the territories were still a thing, like in certain territories, like they would piss off the wrong people and then they get they get canned basically. So like they had like coffees in like Mid-South, and they'd have a couple of coffees here, there, and everywhere, just because they piss off the wrong people and food get kicked out because of the party style you're talking about.
Well, Shadow says, I like wrestling, but then there were rumors about steroid use being strongly encouraged during the Attitude Era. Well, this is before the Attitude Era, dude, and there was steroid use prior to that. Steroid use in wrestling has been happening for a long time.
And it still goes on.
Drugs and pills and all types of manners of sentencing, whether it be performance enhancing or recreational or relaxation. Drugs was used quite a lot simply because these guys, the way they lived. And once again, I mean, maybe not people will agree with me, but I blame the industry for this. I blame people like Vince McMahon for this, who work people to the bone. In this industry, you're on the road consistently. You spend no time with your family, and you end up, resorting to drugs because it's what you could do whilst you're on the road. And these guys, they're not invincible. They need to wind down, and they're trying to obviously exercise and maintain their physiques, all of this sort of stuff. So yeah, it takes a toll.
Yeah, because I was gonna say this is the reason that I like AEW and stuff like that. It has, because they have really pumped up contracts, and you only have to work 1 day a week. You don't have to do all the house shows, because Tony Khan pays you for just doing the TV show. Now, probably that isn't best for business, because you need your house shows to get people interested to go and see your proper show, your TV shows, because that's how WWE keep their model going, is that they did it. But the thing is, AEW has such a big roster that you can put on house shows with the underneath talent they have, and then get people to come to their double shows. But the thing is that I do agree with you. I think that's why WWE needs use the roster it has to do that, to give people on top rest on top, so they can bring you money, because your body can only take so much damage.
Yeah. After the death, they clamped, but they're clamping down on what they did to a degree. I mean, they put these people in a position to, and they turned the. Sorry, I pressed that button, so my birds are pissing me off. But clamping down, it's like a lot of things. You clamp down, but it doesn't mean that the problem is going away. You created this problem, and the way to resolve this problem is to give your wrestlers more fucking time off and pay them better wages, so they don't have to do every house show and shit like that. But no, they did, and because they never necessarily did that, because after Benoit and Guerrero, wrestlers were still top tier guys like Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Rey Mysterio. They were failing wellness policies.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like the situation went away. And probably for someone like Roman Reigns, he felt the wellness policy because of things like his leukemia that he had to get treated. But it's very hard to tell the difference between a performance enhancing drug and a drug that's there to help you when it comes to your personal medical needs. They're rarely versatile at an old age. Yeah, they don't.
I'm not against people taking steroids if it's for medical reasons. Let's say, for example, they're going through some illness that requires it. I'm against it. You'd be like anabolic steroids, because that stuff will enlarge your heart and kill you.
I just concerned about addiction, and what it could do to you, because you just like the situation with Benoit under McMahon. By the way, that's not the first time somebody has killed them, their loved one, and all of that. Jimmy Snooker did it, for fuck's sake.
But with Benoit, the problem is that he did a move that fucks you up, and that's that bloody headbutt. Because I mean, it's the fact that even the person who invented it, who's Harley Race, said that he wished he never invented it, because he caused him all sorts of issues. He caused him issues, he caused Daniel Bryan issues. And the thing is, he didn't heed the warnings that people were telling him, you need to stop using it. And the thing is, his ego got that big, and he was so far gone mentally that it was just a perfect storm, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize for my birds. They're making a lot of bloody. They're making a lot of noise.
Yeah, Shadow, just so you know, I'm trained to be a pro wrestler, and I'm 42, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so eventually, like Gordy, he kind of separated from the birds, and he started working in Japan on his own. And
Mhm.
his sort of like his aggressive sort of style was more. It was much more endearing to the Japanese audience. You know, like the Japanese fans, they like things more hard hitting. You know, no stupid bullshit. You know, true like chain wrestling with 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 big hard moves and stuff like that. Yeah, that was what they were in for, that no nonsense style, and you got that, with people like Terry Gordy. But unfortunately, his knees started to fuck up. His ACLs were gone, and one of the things he needed to do was lose some weight. So he hired Richard Simmons. Remember Richard Simmons from back in the
Oh yeah,
day?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, because, but yeah, see, this is where, like, because if you've ever heard of strong style, this is what Japanese strong style is. It's very brutal. But the thing is, British style is very close to it as well, because we do lead some of our shit. We try to work with it as well, but Japan does not give two shits. It wants to go, and plus it depends which one you go to. If you like New Japan and Old Japan, they're still trying to work with it. So, but I mean, a guy his size would of course like get over in somewhere like that because he's a very brutal, and that would get over. Like he was a major star in Japan, major.
Well, yeah, so much of a major star that when he lost his weight through the help of Richard Simmons, he went back to Japan, became a Triple A champion, and basically became the top foreign guy in Japan.
Yeah,
And he started working with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and they brought that style back to America. That that hardcore, and also that aggressive style, which was you saw in things like WCW. But because he was obviously no longer part of the Freebird, this is when Jimmy Garvin kind of filled that void. I mean, he was there, but he wasn't there. But so the Freebirds kind of almost became a foursome at certain points when he did come back. But basically, Jimmy Garvin was there to fill in the void for Gordy. But the traveling back and forth, it took its toll. On his body, on his mentality. He wasn't necessarily being there with his kids, which is something you hear all the time when it comes to tragic wrestling stories. He relapsed. Yeah. Jeff Hardy relapsing is nothing new, mate. yeah, it's nothing new at all.
yeah. It's getting to the point now. I mean, definitely, if he's not 50 already, he's getting there, and it's got to stop for him because otherwise, there's a rule that there comes a point that it's going to stop either way, and that point's probably coming up for Jeff.
Yeah. Anyway, so but because of like the toll his body was taking, like initially, like I said earlier, he was partying hard, drinking, doing marijuana, stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
now he's starting to take the pills,
Mm-hmm.
and he's taking the pills quite a lot. And when he was on his way to Japan, he was apparently unconscious on the flight there, and Doctor Death was trying to basically make sure that he was still conscious. And then he ended up going into a hospital in Japan, and he was in a coma for a few days. And his nephew, who's also a wrestler, wakes him up. But this is something that you hear quite often. Like being in a coma is not a glorified sleep. When you wake up from that coma, so some of the times you're just not. You're never going to be that person you once was. And even if his physicality wasn't there, and but worse still, his mentality wasn't there. He became. I don't say he became a bit.
He came something that people say they are a wrestling machine. He knew how to do the moves, but there was no.
No, not yet. No. He wasn't wrestling just yet. He had lost his mobility, and he also lost some of his motor skills in his head. He kind of became like a bit of a Forrest Gump type character. Is the only way I could really say it. He became a bit slow, but he did start getting his mobility back, and rumors were that he was wrestling in indie promotions again, and that's when Jim Cornette heard about him and brought him back to Smoky Mountain or wherever he was running at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, spoke about it. Yeah, and that's when things got sad because it came very clear very quickly that Terry Gordy was not the Terry Gordy of old, and that the way he would do moves is basically the person behind it had gone. That comment just basically killed it, and
it was it was something he mentioned. Like you could really pick up like he was going through the motions, but but there was no intensity in his face. Like his face was very much a blank. And one thing, my birds. I do apologize. You know, they're bloody chewing on my wall. So yeah, he just wasn't saying, and you really got a grasp, an idea of what had happened to him by the picture of before and after, how he once looked before, and how that deer in the headlights was a really good explanation of how much he had changed. Depending on the longevity of the coma, it can affect certain motor functions like speech and movement. I heard about a guy who was in a coma for 5 years, and when he woke up, he spoke fluent French. Yeah, but like one of the it's funny because he's part of the he's part of the Freebirds, Terry Gordy is, but also one of the Von Erich brothers who never really wanted to be a wrestler. He ended up in the coma, and when he woke up, he just wasn't the same dude again. You know, it's a real shame. But with Gordy, he got his physicality back to a decent degree, but his mentality, it just wasn't there.
mm-hmm.
So even though he kind of got his body back, and his mind wasn't there, he did end up having a really good match, a death match with Mick Foley, and at one particular point, you know, they actually thought that Terry Gordy was back, the old Terry Gordy, and this is the same because you could always tell that all his friends, all his families, all the people who worked with him, were always hoping that Terry would come back, but there was no chance of that.
But
and even though,
this is where I started to get a little bit cross because they weren't protecting him from himself. There wasn't one person saying, "I don't think you should do this anymore." You obviously you hurt yourself and you're hurting your legacy basically. But I mean, because Mick made it look good because I know Mick has this reputation as this bald crazy guy. He's not. He'll make you look good because he's a good worker. But the thing is that after you stopped working with Mick, then Mick said to everybody like they want I think it is because Mick got took on by the WWE. That's what got him into the WWE. I think. Oh.
Yeah. He got me a job there, but it's hard to say, Postman, because like to tell somebody to like the guy's been wrestling since he's 14. It's all he knows. You know, you can't cut a promo anymore. So it's not like what happened to what's his name, Magnum. You know,
TA.
Magnum TA, who lost some of his physical ability, but he still had his head, and was able to do commentary, interviews, and stuff like that. Gordy couldn't do that. You know, like if anything, he was the reverse. Like his physicality was still there, but mentally he just wasn't there anymore, and so he couldn't go like he couldn't do play by play. He couldn't be a color commentator. He couldn't be someone who does interviews and stuff like that. And at the same time, I'm very happy they didn't mock him by making him this large
Buffoon.
hostess, buffoon, or something like that, which was I'm very happy they didn't do that. But like I said, you saw it in his eyes in the shoot interview he did when he was just talking about the realities of things, and like even his memory was going.
Yeah, because before that we had his WWE, his very very short WWE run as the Executioner. Now
I'm going to get to that. I am going to get to that.
But yeah, the thing you talked about, the RF interview, was really sad. You literally see that the guy, he gets asked about stuff and he's like, and he just like gives answers because he doesn't know the answer. And that's when you know some of these companies when they've got literally long-term memory loss. he seemed to be like coherent and everything like that, but he honestly couldn't remember anything. He was like, it's kind of sad because he had this like vacant look in his eyes. It's like, fuck me, you need to get well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, short-term comas like a few months it affects the brain negatively. I wonder why long comas, which could take years to wake up from, most functions are normal. I don't know. I'm not a person. I'm not in the medical profession, but with Gordy, like he did. Some people are saying that there's no oxygen going to his brain or anything like that, but he stopped breathing when he was in. Like it was his friends basically keep trying to keep him alive, and maybe that's what affected him. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just giving you my weakest response. But yeah, I think this is probably one of the best things to happen to Gordy, because Michael Hayes now, by some miraculous reason, is now working in the WWE,
Mm-hmm.
and being a friend of Gordy, he got him working as the executioner, which I thought was actually a really good gimmick for him.
It was. I mean,
It worked for him really well, but unfortunately, in a way that even though it was a good gimmick for him, it just wasn't working out for him for some reason.
well,
His
I
friend,
remember.
yeah,
I remember in like I think the first Buried Alive match was Undertaker versus Mankind, and he was one of the heels who had to come and bury bloody the Undertaker. Yeah, so like I remember that, and then it shows a match that he had with the Undertaker, and if you cannot have a good match with the Undertaker, you really need to get help. And there's very few people I've seen not be able to have good matches with the Undertaker. I mean, like I can probably count them on like this hand how many people have. Even managed to get a good match out with the Heidenreich. I mean,
well,
like
I would say this. Look, I'll say regarding the Undertaker, I think his latter year matches weren't the greatest, but some of them were fascinating. Like the Brothers of Destruction versus DX in Saudi Arabia. For me, the greatest car crash wrestling match of all time, and I love that match because it's got four superior Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers in there, all top tier guys, all former WWE champions, and yet it was the biggest fucking car crash on the planet. You know, and then obviously his match with Goldberg in Saudi Arabia was a car crash too, but that's more Goldberg's fault than anything. And even his match with Roman Reigns wasn't that great either. But that's because he's not getting any younger. But back then he was prime Taker. So, but still, Gordy goes back to the Indies, and this is one of the sad things because I've been to indie matches. Like you can talk to the wrestlers and all of that after all the shit's done, and
this.
only in this case, because of the era it was, people would take Polaroids and stuff like that, and only two people wanted to take a picture with him. Like there's Mick Foley as Mankind or whatever gimmick he was playing, Cactus Jack. He's got like a long queue of people wanting to take pictures with him, but only two people want to take a picture with Terry Gordy. That's sad. That's really sad. So
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately what happens with the WWE. They make everything so that nothing happened beforehand. So a lot of the people who watch Gordy probably had either grown up watching wrestling, or going to wrestling shows. So,
yeah.
it's just one of those things, unfortunately.
So Terry's career started winding down, and he started spending more time with his son Ray. And Ray actually mentions how he cherished those moments. They would go to the gym together and do all types of shit. And at one point, Terry, had an indie gig he could do, and he wanted his son Ray to work with him, but Ray unfortunately couldn't do it that week. And Terry worked on that show, but in his hotel room, Gordy stopped breathing, and his cousin told him about it, and the I can't think the prognosis or whatever was that he died of a blood clot in the brain. He was 40 years old.
Fucking hell.
40 years old. I'm 46. You're 42, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're older than this guy. We're not in the same sort of shape as he would have been, and yeah, and we're still alive. I just had a fucking kebab. and a couple of chocolate eggs before I started doing this shit, and I'm still able to tell the tale. I don't know what you ate today, but yeah, like he was younger than us when he died, but it kind of shows you how this industry really fucks with you. It really does, Yeah,
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 I mean,
it did cause it did cause a stroke, but it was the blood clot in the initial. But it's really sad because he wanted to work with his son, and his son couldn't do it that week. And then next thing you know, he was never able to work with his son because of all that had happened. It's a real shame.
yeah, and he never
Yeah,
got to
so.
see his daughter wrestle either. And both of them said, like, we don't feel comfortable using the Gordy name and stuff like that. It's just like because of the expectation. It's just like, because the thing is that there's lots of wrestling families like Ric Flair, Charlotte Flair,
The Flair, the Von Erichs,
Rhodes,
the Rhodes,
the Hart
the
family.
and is it the Anoas, which were the
Yeah,
Samoan
yeah, yeah, yeah,
families,
yeah, yeah.
and
The Hart family, the
there's loads.
the Knight family, yeah, those wrestling families.
Exactly. So, but this is the funny thing. Like, maybe I'm wrong here, and please tell me if I am wrong. But Jesse and Festus, was Festus in a way a homage to Terry Gordy?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. No, I wouldn't think so. No, because Terry Gordy wasn't that sort of character, especially watching.
No, he wasn't that, but in a way, like he was. Festus was. I like the character of Festus. Like, you ring the bell, and then all of a sudden he fucking becomes a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
I could send you the episode right now. 1 second, dude. Let me give it to him.
I don't know. Like he, see, the way that we put it is that people think it's the episode. Yeah, but not really.
There you go. Yeah, we knew you were MMH, dude. Don't worry. We knew you were MMH. It had to be. So we were in I put you in hibernating. So it's all good. Don't worry, Ginger Greek. Yeah, so. But yeah, so it's funny, we were saying because regarding, his son Ray, who played Jesse from Jesse and Festus. And Festus obviously being the character that he is, and what Terry Gordy ended up becoming because of all the pills and the coma he went through, and he never became the same person again. He became more Forrest Gump like. In a way, was Festus a homage to Terry Gordy? I never really thought of that until I watched this episode and seeing obviously Ray, aka Jesse from Jesse and Festus, talk about his dad, because Jesse was obviously the son of Terry Gordy. Sorry, Ray was the son of Terry Gordy. Then he renamed himself Jesse for Jesse Festus. I hope you guys know where I'm coming from. But yeah, who knows? I'm just pulling this one out of thin air. Maybe guys doesn't think so, but who knows? But to summarize regarding Terry Gordy, he wasn't a bad guy. He was a hard guy. He was a tough man, but he was really loved by his friends and family. Nobody. It's a bit like John Tenta, like earthquake. Like everyone loved him, and they were really gutted for what happened to him. Him losing his mental abilities. But when he was in his prime, he was an innovator. They're talking about how he like the punching and stuff like that. How he made it, he made it look so realistic and believable.
Yeah, because when he was punching, he looked like he was really punching you in the face, but he wasn't. He just because he could work his punches so well. So.
And after he lost his cognitive skills and he kind of got his shit back together to a degree, people were mentioning that, when it came to his punching, they weren't looking so great. So when he fought Mick Foley in that death match, Mick Foley told him, "Yeah, man, make your punches look realistic," and he did. He kind of like rolled back the years, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to roll back his life. My mama always said life was like a box of hash brownies. Yeah, well, in this particular case, with Terry Gordy, it's sad that he he was never mentally the same person, but physically he could still go. And I don't know if you could take any comfort from that, but to die at 40 years old, I don't know, man. Like the wrestling industry, it never, yeah. And I say this just generally because not everything was McMahon's fault. It started to become McMahon's fault once he fucking monopolized everything. But when there were still territories around, these motherfuckers were still burning the candle at both ends and working more shows than they should, you know, and all of this sort of stuff. You know, they, they, they you're asking too much from these people. They need to spend time with their families. They need to take time off to relax and recoup and heal. But they unfortunately they never got a chance to do that. And then next you know you burn these motherfuckers out and they die. And that's the unfortunate thing that happens so often in this industry. It hasn't happened too recently, but still it's happened more times than it should. Way more times than it should. The amount of wrestlers who have died in their 30s and 40s and 50s is beyond ridiculous. It's it's disgraceful. And Terry Gordy unfortunately is on that list. I think with certain medications and drugs it hardens the heart, so what makes it occur more often. Yeah, and but these guys like people like Gordy, what they were saying in the documentary was like they they had no idea what they were taking half the time. They were just taking anything. You know, like at one point he was on an aeroplane, and this woman took a couple of paracetamols, and he asked her, "You got a couple more of those pills?" You just take any pills you can fucking get. You know, just pop in them. You know, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't. No, but he wasn't doing performance. He wasn't on steroids. This, you know, like he
He was
was.
on relaxants
Yeah, he was in relaxers. He was taking muscle relaxers and stuff. He wasn't trying to like improve his physique or anything like that. He had that.
he's trying to come
Yeah,
off. He was trying to relax because his brain
yeah,
was going down. I want people to be kids. I want to be this and that, and it was just like, yeah.
yeah. Because when he was at his biggest, he needed to be at his lightest. He like lost 65 pounds, of weight, so because his knees couldn't hold up his body any longer because it's just taking too much. So yeah. Anyways, that is Terry Gordy, a short but fulfilled wrestling life. He leaves behind two children in Miranda and Ray. One of them formerly known as Grandmaster J, aka Jesse from Jesse and Festus. Um, yeah, he. I'm very happy for this episode because when I think of the fabulous Freebird, I do just think of Michael PSA's. Unfortunately, he's the one who stands out the most. He was the most flamboyant. He was the real character of the lot, and I'm really happy in the way that a spotlight was shone on Terry Gordy. He was excellent. He was an excellent wrestler. No, I'm not. No. I'm saying steroids is an example of how it affects the heart. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, dude. So, yeah. Anything to say, guys, before we round this off?
Next episode is going to be about Bruce's Tababa Beefcake.
Uh-huh.
And like the very famous reason why he had to change gimmicks because his face got all kind of fucked up.
Yeah, a bit like what happened to Mark Hamill. It was also a boat accident as well. And I know they're going to use that opportunity to play the Rockers barbershop windows thing again, because that happened under his watch. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. He stole his gimmick from somebody else. There was another was it Adorable Adonis who was cutting hair or stuff like that. And next thing you know, he becomes the barber and he comes in there running with a fucking pair of shears and shit like that. Totally over. Very lucky to have Hulk Hogan as one of his best mates. That helped him in his career for sure. You know, unfortunately, we will never know what his career would have been like if he never had that accident. Because he might have been a top tier guy, but we'll never know. We'll never know.
He was definitely getting into that. Anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that next.
Yeah, that barber gimmick was awesome. Honestly, one of the best gimmicks in wrestling, in my opinion. All right. Anything more to add? Wonderful. Okay, everyone out there in YouTube land, Twitch land, Twitter land. I'm not going to call it X. I'm dead naming that fucking page. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube. We're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, as well as other platforms. We are the greatest social media channel you never heard of. We talk about everything and anything. And later on, we're going to be going on some Star Trek, as well as our political news channel that happens on Fridays. Keep an eye out for everything else in between, whether it be reviews, reactions, you name it. We've got some stuff out already that you can look at regarding the most recent Star Wars trailer, Acolyte. So check out our channel for that too. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you, guys. And out there in YouTube land, Toodle Pip.
Bye.